They call Gen Z the zombie generation, staring at screens, unable to make a phone call, completely checked out. But psychology sees adaptation, not failure. When the world feels too loud, too expensive, and too unstable, your brain protects itself. The phone isn't just a distraction. For many, it's a shelter. This isn't laziness, it's survival. To understand the Gen Z mind, you have to look at their habitat. Gen X grew up in the streets. Millennials grew up in the suburbs. Gen Z grew up in the panopticon. The internet was not a tool you learned to use. It was the environment you were born into. For you, there is no logging off. There is no difference between online and offline. They are the same life. But this constant connection comes with a heavy psychological price tag. Hyper-awareness. Previous generations only knew the tragedies of their local neighborhood. You know every tragedy, every war, every injustice, and every climate disaster happening on Earth, in real time, in 4K resolution. Your brain is processing more trauma in a single day of scrolling than a medieval peasant processed in a lifetime. This leads to a phenomenon called compassion fatigue. You aren't numb because you don't care. You are numb because you care too much, about too many things, all at once. And your nervous system hit the emergency shutoff switch. This explains the phenomenon of digital dissociation. When older generations see you staring blankly at a phone, they think you are being rude. But psychologically, you are escaping. You are entering a trance state to regulate your nervous system. The screen is not a toy. It is a bunker. Then, let's talk about the future, or rather, the lack of one. Gen Z is the first generation to be raised on the philosophy of sunny nihilism. Nihilism says, nothing matters, so why bother? Sunny nihilism says, nothing matters, so let's just vibe. You see this in Gen Z humor. It is surreal. It is absurd. A low-resolution picture of a chair can be hilarious. Why? Because logic has failed. You watched millennials follow all the rules, go to college, get in debt, hustle, and still fail to buy a house. You watched Gen X work themselves to the bone and get ignored. So, Gen Z looked at the social contract and realized it was a scam. This brings us to the most controversial Gen Z trait, the rejection of hustle culture. Bosses call it quiet quitting. Psychologists call it boundary setting. Gen Z treats a job as a transaction. I am paid to do X. I will do X. I will not do Y. To a boomer manager, this looks like laziness. To a Gen Z employee, this is simple math. Act your wage. You have decoupled your identity from your labor. You don't dream of labor. You don't want to be a girl boss or a tech bro. You just want to exist without being exploited. This isn't entitlement. This is a trauma response to watching the burnout of the generations before you. You are the first generation to look at the corporate ladder and say, no thanks, I'll stay on the floor. It's safer down here. But there is a hidden superpower in this mindset. Because you care less about institutions, you care more about authenticity. Gen Z has the strongest cringe radar of any generation. You can smell fake marketing from a mile away. You can smell fake corporate activism instantly. You value the raw, the unfiltered, and the real. Even if real looks messy, even if real looks like crying on camera, this radical vulnerability is new. Millennials curated their lives on Instagram to look perfect. Gen Z photo dumps to show that life is chaotic. You are dismantling the performance of perfection. However, this comes with a new form of anxiety, main character syndrome, and the gaze. Because you grew up with cameras everywhere, you constantly view yourself from the third-person perspective. You are always performing, even when you are alone. You are always checking how you are being perceived. This creates a prism of insecurity. You are terrified of being cringe. Because in the digital age, social death is permanent. One wrong move, one wrong tweet, and the swarm attacks. So, you oscillate between radical self-expression and terrified conformity. So, where does this leave us? If you are Gen Z and you feel anxious, disconnected, or aimless, take a breath. You are not broken. You are the canary in the coal mine. Your behavior is a rational reaction to an irrational world. Your doom scrolling is a search for control. Your laziness is a preservation of energy. Your nihilism is a shield against despair. You are not the generation that gave up. You are the generation that stopped pretending the system works. And that is the first step to actually fixing it. So keep scrolling if you need to. Protect your peace. The world will still be there when you are ready to log back in.